Hello, everybody. Welcome to another chill day here on the live stream. Hope you're having a good time. It's Sunday, August 23rd, and yeah, we're gonna kick it off today with answering Behance's daily challenge, weekly challenge. I don't know. They routinely challenge us people streaming on the Behance network to make a thing based on a prompt. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We'll be working that up. I'm Evan Abrams, and as you can see by the weird little text in the corner here, and I'm going to be trying to take you through some After Effects stuff today. We're going to be dealing with some gradients, some gradient backgrounds. People have been asking me about those, so we're going to try to answer some of those questions that I've gotten kind of throughout the week, and hopefully make some nice undulating backgrounds, some multicolored gradients that kind of blend nicely together. So hopefully we can accomplish that, and it'll be good. So, like I said, this is streaming on YouTube. This is streaming on Behance. I have a large hair in my mouth. Gross. Great way to start the day. And yeah, we're gonna jump into After Effects for the day. If you have questions about what you see, do let me know in the chat. I'm watching on the Behance chat. I'm watching on the YouTube chat. So hopefully I can help you out. It's kind of a chill hang here. Not a lot of structure, so it's kind of an open exploration situation. So if you want to hang out for the next couple hours and have a chill time around here, that's what we do. And of course, let me know who you are, where you're from, and what you do in the chat. I'd love to know what people are trying to do with After Effects, what they want to do, and we'll see how it goes. Lots of folks from yesterday on Behance. We've always got the A team hanging out on Behance. How y'all doing? We got Timo, Peter. We got Umacorn in the house. Hello. Scott McMahon is here. Oh man. I love that, like, local Ottawa people hang out in the Behance and stuff. So hopefully that's good. But yeah, hello to Paka from Pakistan. Fantastic. It's right there in the name, so we know. And Mordecai, thank you so much. Glad you're enjoying the channel, everybody. And yeah, like I said, we're gonna dip into it. We are gonna be having some fun with some gradients. So hopefully that's good. Let's dip into the screen and get it going today. You get to enjoy that cool stinger that says what we're doing. I love stinger graphics. These are fun. And yeah, so since we're going to be making some undulating backgrounds, maybe we should deal with backgrounds. So if you're ever making backgrounds for a project, I would really recommend that you sort of think about making backgrounds that are way larger than you need, and then you can kind of scale them or move them as you like. Oh man, we got people from Texas hanging out on Behance. That's awesome. And we got people from Turkey, people from Philly, people from the UK. I'm seeing Brazil, Indonesia, Kazakhstan. Oh, Romania. Dope. Loving that. Danbury, Connecticut. Interesting. And yeah, annyeonghaseyo to Korea. Good to see you, man. So let's jump in. Let's start by making. I want to start by kind of addressing the problems of gradient backgrounds, and then I want to sort of look at some solutions. So let's go through that so that I can kind of give people context for the kind of trubs that people run into. And hopefully that makes sense. So let's look at trouble time. So usually when we're dealing with gradients, there are a few basic ways to drop kind of a gradient background down here, right? We could make a new solid, right? And it doesn't really matter what color the solid is because we are going to put an effect over it. We could use something like the gradient ramp, right? Which gives us 2 points out in the world, and we can pick 2 colors to go between. So if we wanted to say go between red and blue, right, it's going to create a gradient, and it's going to mix that gradient in the middle, so we end up with purple in the middle of this gradient, right? Hopefully that makes sense. And this is kind of how most linear type gradients works. This is a linear ramp. We could take it over to a radial ramp, which is still defined by 2 points. One color is at one point, and then gradually it changes the other color at the other point. Okay. Now, this effect is pretty nice in that it's got this auto scatter situation. So if you want to chunkify your gradient, actually, I just realized that maybe people will have no ability to see what I'm talking about. But so this is called the scatter, and you can scatter up, and then we get kind of a crunchy gradient. But this is only 2 colors, right? This is 2 colors, and what if we wanted more colors? Tim Riel dipping into the Behance chat just to let us know that he's playing games with his kid right now, which is great. Hey, what's up? I just dipped in to let you know I'm not gonna be here. Bye. Oh man, my buddy Tim Riel is playing Fortnite with his kid, who is very good at Fortnite, and it is some great daddy-daughter murder of pixel people. So it's look, you got to do what you gotta support your kids in their hobbies. It's important. So this is the gradient ramp, right? I think we're all kind of familiar with that. If gradient ramp isn't your bag, well, we could make a new sort of like let's make a giant rectangle here, and you can have just gradient fills, right? So you can have a gradient fill as part of a shape layer, right? You can drop this down, and now we're able to get multiple colors, right? So let's see. The brief for today was red, green, blue. So now we can have 3. We can have a tricolor gradient, right? Because we can have those various knots that we put out here, right? So on this fill, we can have knot, knot, knot. We get the color midpoint that we can mess with. We can play this one as a radial gradient as well, as you can see. So we got that going on here. So again, we have this lineup of things, and then we can drop these knots down. And ooh, that's kind of nice. Pulse, pulse, pulse. And all of this is pretty, what we would say, keyframeable, right? And the idea that we can kind of do that kind of thing, right? So what's great here is that because this gradient here, this gradient fill, you can start to keyframe elements about it. So if we start to keyframe, say, colors, so I can just hit the old keyframe on its colors. I can move ahead. I can edit those colors. And let's say I start pinching them around like this. You'll notice that this changes over time, right? So that's kind of what's going on. And people are asking, will this be saved for later? All the streams are always saved for later. There's no Snapchat style deletion of this stuff. This is quality content. We want to keep it forever, right? Right? Do we? So, like I said, when you want a little bit more control than the gradient ramp offers you, right? Because we couldn't set extra knots, we could only do 2 points in here. Then maybe you want to go to a shape layer with a gradient fill on it. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense when we're talking about these kind of gradient methods, that we can enjoy these kinds of things and alter them as we like, right? So these are 2 kind of ways, but they're still very limited in a specific dimension, right? That this has to be along this line, and we're either talking about, again, radial or linear, that it's going from one point to another and then dealing with things along that line, okay? What if... I know what you're saying, Evan. Come on. These are already great options. What else could I possibly need in my life? I don't know. If you want something more nuanced than this, say you want like green over here and red over here, well, we can... Hold on, I'm just going to duplicate this. Let's call this the ramp. Boop, boop. This one here is the shape. And this one here is going to be a different effect. We have people saying good night from Nepal. Good night, Nepal. Good to see you on here. Let's see. We're going to go with the gradient. This bad boy here, the 4-color gradient. Okay. Now the 4-color gradient does what it says on the tin, right? That it produces 4 points out in the world, and then we can kind of mush them around. Okay, so we can kind of mush these knots into each other, these little we call them like little sources of the color, right? And we can kind of push them around, and you can see how they interact with each other as we do that, right? That they have kind of specific strength depending on what is interacting with them. So we get this idea of these little points here kind of pushing color all around, right? Then we get into things like, well, how much can we blend them together, right? We can blend them together a lot or very little. We can apply what we call a jitter to them. And jitter, as you can see, is behaving like introducing some grain into here. And let's see. The other thing that we have here is some blending modes, but this is about sort of blending these elements, this effect, onto the layer under it. Yeah, Scott McMahon is saying it's like color gravity. Oh yes. Oh, yes. So this can cause interesting effects, right? Because now we have full control of each of these, but we don't have control of their specific sizes, right? So these little dots, their size is only determined by kind of how far everything is away from them, right? So green gets more space as we move the other things away from it, and we don't have a huge amount of manual control with this effect either. So this is the 4-color method. So let's try to look at some other methods that can help us in limiting and expanding our control of gradients, right? And we'll revisit some things that I've probably talked about in other tutorials on this channel. But if you have any questions about gradients, if you have any quandaries, if you have any concerns about gradients, do let me know, and we'll try to address them as we go. I'd love to know, what you like to do with colors, what you're looking to do in the backgrounds, and we'll do that. Yes, and Timo, you're absolutely correct. This is the Instagram antagonist show, in which we will be hurting the color depth of everyone's particular monitors. One problem, I guess we should address off the jump. Let's talk about the first problem of gradients. Let us discuss. One of the first problems of gradients is what we call banding. Now, what is banding and why does it occur? I'm hoping that you can see. I'm really hoping. With streaming, I'm never sure if any of these details are actually coming through, but there are kind of these little bands of color that you can kind of see. If you look up here, hold on. Boop. If you look over here under the picture of my face, you can see the info panel. And let's see, I'm going to move it to this one here. You can kind of see how the numbers over there click, right? Click, 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 as we move through these different bands, right? And the idea here is that if we were to render this, things are going to get a little bit chunky. So sometimes what you're going to want to do when you're working with gradients, when you're working with a lot of colors, change this option over on your project panel. It says 8 bits per channel. We're going to bump that up to 16 while we're working today. You could bump that up to 32-bit float if you'd like. But that's the idea, is that this is adding more color information, which has now gotten rid of our banding problem because we have more color information to deal with. But yeah, anytime you've got a ramp and the colors are close to each other, kind of the same way these are, like these are pretty far away, but if you start to have two colors that are very, very close to each other in the project, then you start to get the banding, increase your bits per channel. That'll solve that. So hopefully that is helpful. Basically, anytime that two colors are too close to each other, that there's not enough difference in the steps is when we get in the troubles. So yeah, and yeah, Timo and Gennaro are correct. Darker colors sometimes show up a little bit better. I have it show up though, like when two things are of equal. It's like when the channels, like if two out of the three channels are exactly the same, and then only one of the channels is moving. That's when is shifting. That's when we end up with really bad banding, because there's not a lot of points of difference to go through. So that's that's technical caveat number one out of the way as we dive into stuff today. That we're going to be working in 16 bits per channel to try to alleviate those problems that are going to come up, and I would recommend you do the same. So hopefully that's good. A lot of people hanging out today, like 70 people hanging out on YouTube. Thanks for coming out, y'all. But with that banding out of the way, let's look into some more nuanced takes on gradients. How many colors do you think? 4 colors? 5 colors? I don't know. We could do all the colors. But the first question I've got from Orkin is saying, how do you make a 4-color gradient look good without saturation? Oh, okay. So good, as we know, is a relative term. Appropriate is probably what we'd like. But if we want to bring their saturations kind of down, right? Let's make their saturation to 50%. Maybe we leave their brightness up. Let's do like a pastel here, okay? So let's try to bring these all to have like a pastel situation, right? So what do we got here? Pastelling all of these. And I'm assuming that the issue is, right, that everything's kind of muddied, right? That there isn't a huge differentiation between these particular colors. But by design, we've kind of done that to ourselves, right? That there isn't a lot of differentiation between them because they're all in similar saturation situations, right? But this blend mode, this blend here is kind of what gives you that differentiation between them. So you may have to just jack this up a little bit higher if you want to have them be more pronounced from each other. And that's kind of the way you want to go. But a lot of what makes color things kind of work is proportion and balance between color. So anyway, yeah. Oh. And the Absolute Cad on YouTube is asking, does 16 bits per channel increase file size more or less than adding noise to remove the banding? So I guess maybe let's dial back and explain what's actually happening when we're altering the bits per channel, right? So we're literally adding more color information to the document, right? So before there were only 8 bits per channel, now there are 16. That's literally twice as many bits. So when you render, if you were to render it with these higher bits per channel, definitely there's more information, therefore the file size will be larger, right? Adding grain is really interesting because that's taking us back to this older concept called dithering. Now, I'm not sure if folks are familiar with old internet times, but there was a time when pixels could only be black or white on machines. And in order to show a gradient, then we would simply have some black and some white pixels really close to each other, right? And that's called dithering. This idea that we're not going to add more colors, we're just going to intermix the colors, in the pixels. So when you are using grain, right, or the jitter, or the what do they call it in the ramp here? This one is specifically scattering. You're not adding any more colors. You're just distributing these colors. You're putting little flecks of the color everywhere. And because you're not adding more channels, the file size would remain the same, right? And Scott's like, yeah, halftone, right? Scott, you and I know the things. But yeah, halftone dots is a similar thing that we would see in comics. That kind of deal. But yeah, dithering, halftone, introducing grain can keep your file size down. Anyway, if there are computer people who can explain the various forms and algorithms of dithering way better than I can. So hopefully that makes sense in terms of, you know, our trade-off, right? Like, we're either going to increase the fidelity, which will increase the file size, or we will accept the grungitude, the jankiness of the thing. So, so I like to call them dippin' dots. That's one for the Behance chat only, I think. So, we were talking, let's get a solution on the table, right? Let's get something on here that can help us out to mitigate these trubs. And one of the things that I always recommend people do is to think about things in terms of, we're going to create a base, and then we are going to alter that base. And there are a lot of ways that we can do that. Let's look at the first one here. And we are going to start with a fractal base. Okay, so let's say we wanted something generative going on here. And so we're going to go ahead, 1920 by 1080, cool. This is fine. Grab our classic black solid, bring it out here. And we're going to start with a fractal noise. Just going to plomp the fractal noise down there. I think we're all familiar with fractal noise. This is truly nasty situation, kind of like clouds. But all we're doing at this phase is thinking of darkness and lightness, right? So this can help us create sort of two-color gradient if we want to do that. Now, what do you mean, Evan, two-color gradient? Get out of here with this. Well, we can start to transform this thing by, say, scaling it up. And let's see, instead of basic, let's go turbulent smooth. No. Let's get dynamic on this. So it gets a little bubbly, maybe. Tough to say. There's so many different looks that we could enjoy here. But we are basically, what am I thinking here? Cloudy? No, let's try twist. Okay. So we've got our twist here. We are scaling it way up. And we're going to increase the contrast quite a bit. We're increasing this a lot so that we get areas of darkness, areas of lightness, and areas of grayness in between. Those are really the only three things that we're super interested in. So we've created something black and white. And now, if we wanted this to then become more of a gradient, a gradation between them, we could blur it down. So let's grab the old fast blur. The new fast blur here, like this. Increase the number of iterations if you want to have that happen more and more, but repeat your edge pixels. And now we have a fractal noise that we can sort of modify, right? We can undulate this around with areas of darkness and lightness, and then we simply remap those to the colors of our choice. And that's right, this is fractal noise, the winner of season 2 of Motion Design Hotline's best effect of the year. But the runner-up is coming in from the top ropes. No, hold on. So now we want to change what is black and white to color, okay? So we're going to drop a tint on here. Nothing has changed. Well, that's fine, because we just need to alter this to be, say, red. And like we were talking about, we are going to go to a blue, right? So we've now created kind of the same deal that we had before. Hold on, I'm going to put this up to 2 iterations. That, you know, this certainly is a gradient, right? This is gradient, and it is less normal than before. We're going from one color to the other with the intermediate color that we still don't have fine control over, right? The tint is not allowing us to change any knots or anything, right? So we're still kind of limited in that way. But if you want this to kind of move around and change and shift, we've got that going on. It's happening. So we can shift all kinds of ways. You know, when it comes to, say, offsetting the turbulence, right? We can just do this kind of thing. But yeah, that's hopefully that makes sense. Oh, one thing I will say. So the absolute CAD. Let's talk about, I wasn't sure if the noise grain scatter increases the file size similarly because of the non-contiguous color data. So that's an interesting point, right? So the way lossy compression works. Oh boy, we're really getting into the weeds now, folks. Where's my Tangent Town button? Is that on here? Hold on. No, I didn't install that yet. We'll get to it. But when we're talking about sort of compression and color data and stuff, right? If you're always trading off, right? You're always trading fidelity for file size. That's the thing, right? So if you were going to have areas of contiguous color, right? So you can see in the info panel right over here, right? That, you know, the values, the RGB values are not changing a whole heck of a lot over here, right? They're not changing a lot. So if we were to render this maybe with a lossy codec, and this area over here, hold on, I'm going to set some keyframes for evolution and offset. Okay, so that we can enjoy kind of this changing. So if there are areas that don't change a lot over time, those don't get kind of re-put, those don't get re-upped in the in the render, right? And the trade-off is that either you permit things to have low fidelity, or you suffer a higher file size, right? That's kind of you're always going to make that trade. So whenever you're thinking about why am I doing this, why am I doing that, right? Like at the end of the day, you have to determine what's important to you. Is the fidelity of the image important? Therefore, you are going to have to sacrifice some file size, or some bit depth will have to go down. Like, maybe I can do this in 16 colors versus 32 colors, right? That's half as many colors. So if you're rendering out a GIF, whatever, then you're going to want to limit that palette, right, as best you can, if file size is really something that you are crunching over. Sometimes there's more effective codecs and stuff to deal with, but again, it's a huge subjective balance that ultimately comes down to where things are going. And I will say that there was a time in my career when we worried about it. Thanks to modern computing, we worry about it almost not at all anymore. Once everyone has 5G, we can finally stop worrying about file size. It's not true. There will always be files that are too big. Always, always, always. Anyway, let's return to the gradient problem at hand, right? That though we have now more control or more variety over, where the gradient is, like it's a lot more loosey-goosey, we still only have the two colors. So we can swap out just the tint portion and still be pretty happy. So let me grab for you tritone. So tritone is similar to tint, except that it's got 3 points, right? It's got 3, we would say, knots on it, right? These are the 3 knots. So let's go with red and blue. And in the middle, let's have a green in the middle. Let's do green in the middle. Now we're going to see how truly hideous this is. Now, why does this look so grotesque and mostly green, right? Why is it mostly green? Well, because it's mostly midtones, right? That's the problem. When we're tinting, right, white goes to this, black goes to this, no problem. But in tritone, what's happening is that if we wanted to replicate this, we would really just need to put the grays to the purple midline between them, right? Yeah, Fraz Ninja says, "Are we leading to CC Toner? Is that where this ride is taking us?" We're going to all sorts of places. We're going to explore all sorts of ways. But yeah, we're going on a tour of effects today. So here we have, you can see the green harsh bands coming in here, and it starts to take on a very different look, right? So what you'll probably want to do is to snap a curves adjustment in between the two, right? Which will allow you to do things like amping up the amping up how much of this is purely black, how much of this is purely white, which will then, as you can see, influence those various areas, right? So hopefully that kind of makes sense. Tim Mobest is here. It's could have used this 5 weeks ago. That's right, Tim. We only give you the advice you need after you've already suffered through the project. That's how it is. And yeah, so Scott's got the math in the Behance chat, if people are wondering, that the sort of like... Is that exponential, Scott? I guess it's an exponential relationship between bits and levels and... Oh, my goodness. Like... Look, to tell you a little bit about my age, I remember a time when our computer, the computer itself, had a graphics card that could only do 16-bit color, right? And we got a graphics card that could take us up to 128-bit color. Because I think we wanted to play like Doom or, I don't know, Quake Arena or something. And, that was like, what? I thought this was all the color. So, like, the question of, like, I thought I was already looking at every color. Like, no. There are so many colors you have not been looking at. But early sort of graphic designers were able to trick you through the combination of colors and making it feel like when things get blended on a CRT TV screen. Anyway, that was our... I'm just going to write down that we just took 2 trips to Tangent Town back to back, and we will proceed. So hopefully this makes sense about why you would probably want to dip a curves in, before you start doing things like tritone and tint and, getting these things sort of dialed in, right? No tie-dye shirts required. Okay, so if this is sort of being unsatisfactory for us, right? Like tint gave us 2 colors, tritone gave us 3 colors. CC Toner. I have not cracked open the CC Toner in a little bit, but as you can see, we can go to duotone, we can go pentatone, right? If you want to, have 5 knots, right? So I keep saying the word knots. It was some wild ideas here, right? So we could go red, and this one here, this one's going to be blue. We're going to try to get from our red to our blue. How are we going to go in the middle here? Like maybe a green in the middle, but now it's getting crazy. We can put in all kinds of other bands of whatever we would want in here. These are not even close to the halfway points of things, but as you can see, we got pentatone, dip it down to tritone, dip it down to duotone, right? CC Toner is basically combining how that stuff kind of goes. But yeah, hopefully that makes sense, that CC Toner is sort of an extension of these things, right? So hopefully that fits. Now, what's interesting... Oops, don't go that way. No, self, come on. Is that, using the kind of duotone situation or the pentatone situation, you're able to get these interesting kind of fine controls over things in kind of fun ways, I find anyway. That, you can get much more interesting effects by then squishing with the curves, to try to make things kind of work out, as you would like. So it takes a little bit of a massage. Why do I say massage that way? That's the dumbest way to say word. I guess it reminds me of when I had to do massage therapy for my various RSI problems. Anyway, so I think hopefully you get the idea here that we are able to fix up with this base. We can then tint it into all kinds of crazy places. Now, if CC toner maxed out at 5, hey, I've got the beast here. It's called Colorama, and it's here to get you, right? And Colorama says, I see you trying to deal with things. I see that you have a lot of input thoughts and output thoughts. Well, you know what? How about I come to you with being able to place all kinds of points on your outputs? How about I hook you up with, I don't know. Let's see. I'm gonna go sunset style here. This is sort of the challenge mode here that you now have full control of your output phase, and then we end up with quite a way to shift it. In fact, you can alter your input. So let's get the phase from the intensity. Let's add the phase from, source and masks. No. You can basically add two images together. I should create, let's see. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this, make new adjustment layer, drop the colorama on that. Take the intensity. Let's double add it. So now we can basically like pop, like this multiplied by this. Now we're getting into some really great sort of ideas of what happens when you multiply two things together. And we can start to get some fairly interesting results. This is where it really starts to explain sort of how this is closer to art than it is to science, right? That playing around with things and adjusting things and shifting the various phases around till it gets to a point that you feel satisfied with. This is where the rubber kind of hits the road around here, and now we're getting into some really wild kind of gradients. But yeah, and yeah, I guess I need to sing some True Colors, Tim. I'll get on that. Oh, see your true colors. But yeah, and mathing in the YouTube chat saying that they're afraid of colors. No, but because they can mess with your animations. Yeah. Like this is usually why people work in black and white with tone, with value. Then we get into hue, right? We kind of build it up in layers. And yeah. Oh man, Scott and Kent, two color printing. Oh boy, that's. When you try to explain to someone how does printer make color, right? Like today's RGB day, so we're going into tangent town now, but we're combining light, right? We're combining red, green, blue light. When you're printing, you're combining cyan, magenta. Is it just yellow? I guess. And then black ink. You're combining these inks on top of each other in a different way. They don't add the same way light does, because if you added all these colors of light, you'd end up with white light. But if you added all these colors of ink, you end up with infinite darkness, right? So trying to explain that, like, the third color is made from just the two colors, where this one's kind of light and this one's a little bit darker, and then the two colors over top of each other make a different color. So that's that could be a hard explanation sometimes. But hey, so. Hopefully this has explained kind of how DNNY says they fell in love with Colorama after they saw Good Faith live. That's pretty funny. I'm not familiar with Good Faith. I'll have to check them out sometime. I mostly only listen to 90s hip-hop. But. So hopefully this has explained how we can make some interesting undulations, some interesting gradient stuff. This is, undulating way too fast. But hopefully this has kind of explained how we can do kind of an effects-driven thing, right? If you're able to get a black and white input of some kind, then we can do all kinds of things on top of that with, curvesing it up, and then tinting, tritone, CC toner, colorama. The world's your oyster with this stuff, right? So if you're able to create, like I said, a change from black to white, we can then remap that to whatever colors you choose, okay? So with that in mind, let me show you a little thing that I do a lot. Okay, so let's go with, see if I can explain one of these regular techniques that I usually do to create a nice looping kind of background that I like to put behind things. But yeah. Let's see here. So let's go with... Okay, so let's say I want to make a looping background that's going to seem to, like, move by. It's going to move past us a lot, all right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a comp that is sort of 3 times the size that I need of the final things. And I have this nice, long composition, right? I'm going to make a new solid, make it the comp size. It's going to fill up this space, right? So this is going to be black pixels, okay? Now I need some white pixels, so let's see, I'm going to make a new solid. Doesn't need to be the comp size. It actually needs to be like 1920 by 1080, and this is going to be white. Now, solids can be nice because they do a great job of not taking up a lot of resources when we use them. So now we need this to be a gradient. So I am going to just fast blur out this. Fast blur, of course, being one of the fastest forms of blur, and fast speed is what we want. So we're going to repeat our edge pixels, which is going to give us trubs, right? Because you cannot, if you repeat the edge pixels on this, you end up with nothing. So you don't put it on that, you put it on everything. Put it on an adjustment layer. So now we've got dark band, light band, dark band. Now we might stretch this out a little. I want the middle here to still have some of its sort of size, like or some of its high values. So you can see over on the info panel, hopefully you can see on the info panel, R244, G244, right? So if we get that up to 255, then we've kind of arrived at where we want a little bit. Yeah, close enough. Close enough. All right, 540 there. Good. Okay. And you may end up dialing in or tweaking this as you like. Because the way we're going to end up using this is... Ooh, I almost spilled tea all over myself. I'm always spilling the tea on myself. Okay. Is we are going to use the offset to get this thing moving so that we can go like wee 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 woo 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 wee 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 woo woo woo, right? And that only works if this edge and this edge will marry up to each other, right? So imagine like you have a piece of paper and we've cut it and we're going to stick those two ends together, and we're going to use the offset to kind of power this. But we're not going to power it in here. No, no, no. No, this just needs to be an image of some kind, and that's fine. All right. So the other thing that we would maybe want to do is to make this edge less regular. So we would probably do that by using a turbulent displace, which we'll be putting on before or after the blur. But again, we want to be sort of making use of this turbulent displace, and we want to make sure that we're pinning all the edges. Do pin the edges so you don't get them lifting off the outside. And this will just allow us to get some variety, right? So you can kind of see how it gets a little bubbly like that. Maybe that's something you're into. I don't know. Maybe bubbly, maybe not. And Manuka's asking, am I standing? Oh, yes. Standing desk all the way over here. We are pro standing desk. Gives me excellent posture. That way I can vocalize very strongly. But yeah, let's jack up these numbers. So we're going to bring this up a little bit. Bring the size. How am I feeling? Ooh, this is kind of like going into some stuff. Okay. And then, you know, does it go before or after? I think after, because I do want to preserve some of this chonkiness. Cool. So I'm happy with that. Maybe I expand this out just a little bit. Get that moving out into the edges. Okay. Good. Now, we could animate the turbulent displace if you so desire. Totally up to you if you want to do that. And we don't necessarily have to put it in here if you don't want either. But I'm trying to put some variety in here just so that when we do this thing. Okay, so now let's see. This is going to be our looping background example, right? And let's say we've got a comp, and this is like a logo reveal, question mark, I don't really know. And you've got like stuff happening out here. It's like, I don't know, brand corp or whatever. Ah, that's not how their logo would look. Why would it ever look that way? Today we answer the question, how happy is Evan about all of his corporate stuff? Well, what's a Futura, right? No. That's Gotham? There we go. Let's say we have this very generic, very bad. Ugh, I don't know why I'm doing this to you all. It's very rude of me. Subject you all to these weird ideas. Anyway, let's roll it back. Here's a very generic thing. Perhaps the most generic of things. So we've got this. Everything. Let's pretend that we animated it really nicely and everything's good. And now we're going to bring in the looping background behind. I can't see anything. So the first thing we would do, like we did before, is we would probably drop. Let's just start with a tint on it. Let's put a tint on it, and we'll kind of deal with the rest of the trubs later. So we've got this going on. It's not looping, though. It's not doing anything yet. So this is when we have to put the offset on board. And the offset, we can run it from starting its center. You can kind of see this little device here, you know, up in this corner. So I can start it at 0, 0, set a keyframe, move ahead to whenever, and then we are going to shift that all the way to the layer's other corner. Oh no, I've made After Effects angry. I'm sorry, After Effects. I'll never hurt you like that again. Oh my goodness. It is 5760 is where I wanted to be. There. So we've got these two keyframes, right? So this is now going wee. Like so. You can set that to loop infinitely. And we'll see, but yeah. See how that goes. See, it's kind of going by. Goodbye. It just keeps looping. And what's kind of great about this is that that loop will continue. So if I go ahead and I, you know, shrink this, grow this, whatever, that it's going to just keep on scrolling by. Now, granted, these colors are very far from each other, and they're probably not what this, they're probably not what whatever this brand corp is into. I don't know what their deal is. Ooh, I think I hurt After Effects in a bad way here. Oh, what did I do to it? What is that pinch? How did I pinch it that way? Ooh, very interesting. Now I'm interested. Are there more horrors I could visit on this thing? Oh, yes, yes, yes. That's what I've done. The top and bottom don't match each other. I was like, why did that happen? Oh, yeah, right. Okay, so I'm going to take the turbulent displace. I'm going to remove it out of here. So this beam is just going to keep undulating over the whole thing. Right. I'm going to drop the turbulent displace here instead. Now, isn't this an interesting kind of look, right? So now the look is a little bit different because of sort of how we've set it up. You can, of course, cycle the evolution. We've talked about this on previous things. Cycle it. Take it once around, please. Now we get this lovely gradient that is hanging out behind Brand Corp. So hopefully that works out. But yeah, hopefully that makes sense that we're now combining displacement plus the gradients. The gradient is looping. So really all we're doing is looping that around. And hopefully that works for folks. Then it's just a matter of tweaking to taste in here how kind of like wide, narrow, blurry, not blurry things are to get it the way you ultimately would like. Hopefully that makes sense. Maybe it's Christmas time. It's Christmas time. Now it's like Twitch's colors, I guess. But yes. Okay, so that's one kind of generative way. Hopefully this kind of makes sense. Into YouTube people, you have to see the Behance .net situation. People are talking standing desks. People are talking about user research, something I cannot abide. Oh man, sit-stand desks, folks. I love them. I love mine. It's great, and I don't know. Makes my spine feel good. So also I'm in my mid-30s, so things start to degrade. Okay, so these are very generative ways. What if, this is crazy, what if you wanted more manual control over what was happening, right? How would we produce gradients that have more manual control over things, right? Well, we can do that. We have powers. We have powers. So check this out, right? Let's just say we want some undulating spheres out here of varying colors. Let's start with a base, right? Let's take a solid and get a base down. Oh, it's not that one. Let's use this one, right? And I don't know. Red. Because we're talking about RGBs, and we'll see what we can do here. That's right, Umacorn. Things start to break down always. Ugh, I don't like what I'm looking at now, so we're going to let's play a little bit more pastel with things. All right, bring the saturation down, keep the brightness up. Manuk is asking, how much experience do I have in After Effects? Me? I don't know. Too long. Let's just say too long. And maybe that I'm not willing to discuss too. I'll say mid-30s for age. And That's where I'll leave it. I don't know why I'm embarrassed about my age. Maybe because there's a lot of ageism in our industry, and that makes me unhappy. Okay, so let's say we wanted some manual control of some orbs moving around, grooving around, position, scale. And I'm just going to set some keyframes on some stuff. So we're going to just kind of go... Warp, whoop. It's going to move over here, and then maybe it'll move over here. Be small. Tisk, tisk, tisk. Let's change it to this. So I can maybe grab the handles. Yeah, let's have it move in kind of an infinity sign, maybe. I don't know. Let's see if we like this. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Okay, awesome. So... Yeah, I don't care for that angle. Let's see if we can relax that one a little. Ooh, yeah, don't like this. Relax, relax. There we go. Oh, Scott is asking, what did I hit to adjust the path? So in order to get up all these handles, I went to keyframe interpolation, switched into continuous Bezier. Ooh, oh, geez, I don't know why I did that. And that'll give you access to these handles. If you don't see yours, After Effects preferences. Oh, where is it? Let's see here. Let's see here. Let's see. I want to go to... So if you don't see your motion path, just know that you can kind of tweak it in here. So we're looking at no more than the last 4 keyframes. Ooh, oh, so many burps. I made pancakes today, and they were full of baking soda. Now it's hurting my body. So no more than 4 keyframes back, or so depending on your motion path. This is the stuff you want to tweak so that you can kind of see it and understand the motion path. Some people like to see a lot of motion paths. Some people want to see none at all. So, you know, that can be really helpful. And folks in the YouTube chat, yes, the Evan panel is a little script from Kyle Hamrick for when we were doing the Motion Design Hotline show together. Oh, good times. Motion Design Hotline is back, by the way. We had our first interview last week, and I hope people liked it. Yeah, I liked it. So let's say I'm going to change this to be blue, but a light blue, because again, we're talking pastels here, folks. So let's bring that saturation down, kind of like this, kind of kids book style out here. Okay. And then, like, let's just blur it, right? Let's just go like fast blur, fast box blur. We're really giving the fast box blur a workout here. We can give it more iterations, fewer iterations, really blur it out. Repeat those edge pixels, sure, because it is going to come up near the edge. Right, and now we kind of have this gradient, right? Let's get that radius going even higher. Right. So now we have this manual kind of control of where this thing is kind of coming in. Now, granted, I think I need to alter the scale here, because as things scale too small, you know, they kind of get blurred out of existence, right? Now, you could start keyframing this blur radius as well. So let's see, let's bring that down so that the color returns to us a little bit. Let's make it blurrier at this phase. And then, I mean, we know that we need to return to the original blurriness by the end. There we go. So we're kind of setting up that we have this kind of, I don't know, whippoorwill or whatever hanging out. Ah! Oh no, how dare I? What have I altered? What have I altered? I'm just messing everything up, everybody. Oh my goodness. There we go. So, we've got this thing moving, grooving, doing it. Now, what's fun about this is that now we can play with some modes, right? So, modes are the best, especially when it comes to how you're going to make these things interact with each other, all right? So, now we're setting this to add. You know, you're probably going to have to tweak up your various saturations and such. But just remember that different modes are going to treat things a little differently, right? So just keep that in mind. There we go. So now we're getting a little bit more pleasing color situation. But yeah. All right, now we're just going to kind of adjust some of these so they're not so robotic on the mark. There we go. So there we go. We've got one undulating whippoorwill out in the world. Cool. Let's make glow ball number 2. Let's get it going places. And so we're just going to adjust kind of globally. What are we going to do for it? What are we going to do for this? I mean, what's really nice is that we now get to kind of play around with how these things are going to go. Pretty fun now, right? When these two things intersect with each other, because they're both set to add, we get some cool stuff happening, right? So let's see. Yeah. I think that would be the ideal setup, right? Is if there was a way for us to just kind of jump into each other's lives sometimes. If there's a little tab, people in the. So this is all fairly rough, but I think we're getting a pretty good idea of how this can work. Bloom, bloom, bloom. Just by using these kind of blurry things. Ah, man. All right, let's see. What should we do here? The brief asks us to do red, green, blue, so that's what we're going to do. So we're going to set this one to green, and look what happens, right? That as things are adding to each other, so if we let's set these to normal, right? This is what it looks like when it's set to normal. Not much to write home about, right? But when we set them to blend in a different and unique way, right, then we start to go places. So let's play around. Set this one to add. So what happens when you... So this is kind of funny, right? Hey, what happens... We were talking... In the Behance chat, people were talking about sort of like oil painting, and we were talking a little bit about how ink kind of blends with each other. So we've got red, green, blue. Right? You know, these two are set to normal. This guy's set to add. Now, this glow ball, maybe it's a they, I don't know, being set to add, and over top of everything, as we add green to blue, we end up at this kind of teal in the middle, right? When we add green to red, we get yellow. What? Well, what happens when you multiply them, right? Well, then we get this kind of a look instead, right? Well, now we're doing that. So what's really interesting is that this kind of teaches us how color works, right? So like we've got this glow ball here is now filled with yellow. So if it's set to normal, okay, well, what's yellow multiplied by red? Oh, it's orange. Oh, okay. Well, how about darken? Well, that's kind of orangey too. Let's see. Oh, how about linear burn, color burn? Yeah. These all kind of work. Very similar, right? That's why they're in a certain group. And then we get into the additive modes, like add and like screen. So those all kind of work the same in that space, right? And then we get into these funkier ones like overlay. Oh, hello, overlay. What's going on with you? All of these kind of correspond to different algorithms of how the two pixels when they're over top of each other are going to behave, right? You can dive into this stuff really deep, go real crazy with this all the time. I'm going to say let's stick with additive color. Let's move this on to be green. And you'll notice that, like, here, I'm going to cycle through the hues, and you can kind of see weird and interesting things that occur. Oh, my goodness. So strange. You know, adding red to red, not much to write home about, you know? So this is, I don't know, this is the fun stuff. Anyway, this is kind of a fun thing to do to kind of get maybe a better grasp on what is happening with this stuff. Here we go. See, now I'm just going to kind of scrub through, and I'm going to see. Okay, blur radius. Let's bring that blur radius up a bit. There we go, to really dominate the frame. But we are going to bring up the opacity on this stuff because it starts to get a little bit convoluted. Dip back up. Go. Now, the one thing that you're going to probably want to do is to sort of add more of these, right? You want to make sure that you're adding a bunch of stuff. But you can add literally any kind of shapes you want. So in this kind of an idea, what we're thinking about is simply pushing things around in the space to sort of undulate them, to make things just to make the things kind of take up space is maybe the way to think about it. So that's if we were going to push solids around. You can push masks around if you so desire. So we could start keyframing masks. We could keyframe shapes around. We could have shapes that are themselves covered with effects, right? Like you combine all of these things together to get all sorts of looks, right? But then of course we run into sort of another conundrum, let's say. How do we then make use of this thing? How do we put it inside stuff or around stuff? And that all comes down to using sort of track mats and that kind of thing. So I'm going to talk a little less for a little bit. I'm going to see if I can add in some other blobs in here to try to make this a little bit more palatable. Try to combine everything that we've talked about today to just get a real mess going here. That's what I want to do. I want to just make a mess. No. We're gonna see what we can do here. That's not gonna get me where I want to go. Hee, that's funny. Oh, it's interesting how much of my day is like, that looks funny. But anyway. Why did I want fractals back here? Why did I want to go fractal with this? Whoosh, whoosh. You know what? Let's just do infinite blackness. And let's just have some orbs. Let's just get these orbs out here. And I kind of want to start over and just have them be a little bit more interesting. Okay, let's have green orb. Maybe not interesting, but maybe just a little bit more. Let's just have a little bit more control with them, right? And folks, so much streaming has harmed my voice. Oh, man. Back in the day, I used to feel really bad about my vocal cracks, but these days I just know it's part of how I am now. Don't smoke, kids. It's bad for you. Okay. I have this green orb. Now, let's have a big green orb swoop in and then go away. Let's do that. All right, so it's going to go wee, wee, wee. Kind of like that. You can also use your Convert Vertex tool if you want to smooth out some of these lines. Highly recommended. But then you would probably want to use your Selection tool in order to actually refine them. Also, you've got, if you hold down the Alt or Option button, you can separate the two handles. I don't know. I don't know if that's something you'd want to do. Maybe you don't want to do that. I'm going to take these and I'm going to rove them across time. If you're not familiar with roving across time, it just makes these positions locked in place but not in time. So that allows me to ease kind of the front and back of this thing, and then gives me a little control over the middles, which is great. So I need to bring this in more, give it more presence in the frame. There we go. La 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 la. La 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 la. Good. Okay, so. Oh man, and I know. Oh boy, we're gonna be together here for another sort of 40 minutes or so. So bear with me. We're gonna go places. We're gonna do stuff. Speaking of, if you are hanging out in the Behance chat, a lot of talk about. I don't know, talking about the various areas. Canary Islands? What? Tell me more about the Canary Islands, PD. I'm interested in islands. Island is my favorite type of thing to live on. Okay, so I know that this will have to be not quite as blurry out here, maybe? I don't know, let's... Oh, Kent is asking, how did I make the keyframes roving? So you can select any keyframes, right-click on them, and just tag, just hit the little menu item here, rove across time. And that'll get you where you want to go, I hope. Hopefully. All right, here we go. We're going to make sure we're repeating those edge pixels. Get the blur radius up much higher here at the start. Oh, maybe it needs to be even higher than that. Oh boy. Yeah, so it's just kind of a big green mist coming in. Ooh, I'm a ghost. Oh, here it comes. Oh, here comes the big green ghost. Hey, I'm a ghost. I wonder if I want these edge pixels to be repeated. Let's find out. No, I think that's much more pleasing. Okay, so we're going to do this. We're going to just push it off the frame. Goodbye. There we go. Kind of bleeds in from the edge, spirals away, getting to intense down there. Sometimes you need to turn off this little bounding box. Oh, so annoying sometimes. Where is that toggle? Toggle mask and shape. Not a bounding box. Yeah, well. How about now? Yeah, because I still need it to be kind of visible. Well, maybe not so visible, right? Anyway. Rove those keyframes across time, folks. It's cool. Yeah, like a firefly. Oh, I'm loving it. Loving it. Okay, so this is some green orb. Let's get green orb number 2 going here. So we're going to ditch all of these. Green orb number 2. Where should it... So if this guy's coming in like this, let's have this one here go from Lil... to big, like that. Just a simple kind of exit, and it can begin its life kind of like that. Yeah. Yeah, this guy's just going to kind of cruise through, starting small, getting large. Maybe thinking about it. I'm thinking about it. Yeah, starting small, getting large. Let's do that. There we go. So we can get kind of that. Action, as long as it's leaving in good time, I think. As long as we're all leaving in good time, you know. There we go. Now we're getting this kind of connecting between the two blobs, right? You can kind of see how they kind of connect on their way out of town. Always important to make connections. Okay, feeling this so far. Don't worry, we might end up tweaking things quite a bit as we go. I'm going to now, let's get some other orbs in here. What kind of other colors can we drop in? Well, I think red is the obvious choice. I'm going to tint it a little bit towards pink. I'm feeling crazy like that. Like this. And again, we're going to deal with position, scale, and a blur. Right, try to blur it up like so. And let's see, let's make it in this area. So we're going to have it scale from down from nothing. Scale up. And then it's a good pocket for it to go to maybe here before scaling away. All right. Let's try to ease these things up a little bit. Now, I don't like that this kind of comes to a full stop at either of those kind of areas. So I'm going to go into this graph editor, and we're going to look at a speed graph, and I'm going to grab these things here, and I'm going to pull them up off the deck. Pull up these ones off the deck also. This way the ball never truly comes to rest, right? It kind of slows down, but it doesn't like come to rest. So we're going to grab these, make sure they have continuous incoming and outgoing velocities. That's going to be critical. So now I can just kind of drag them around like this. I don't know, trying to make it feel more organic, less robotic is the idea. So domo arigato, Mr. Roboto. Change this one into a roved keyframe, just because I don't think it's quite capturing. Let's look at that scale. Oh yeah, right. All these scales are linear. Boom, let's do that. Okay, so now we've got kind of these lights coming and going. This is, I mean, there's a lot of movement happening in frame, so how about we make one that kind of doesn't move at all? I think that would be nice. Are there any holes anywhere? Yeah, this is a big old hole over here. So let's just mess with the scale and the blur radius, I think. Maybe. Okay, that feels fine. So right now I'm trying to think of balancing, trying to balance this stuff kind of around a little bit. And I mean it's real Christmas time right now. But we'll get there. We will get there. Now we're gonna go blue. We're gonna work blue. People who've been on this channel a lot know that that's pretty normal, I guess. I'm always full of cuss words around here. Yeah, okay. Go. Now, yeah, like I said, we're dealing with some balance issues here, so I'm hoping that the addition of some blue is going to help us balance this out. Okay, so we're going to deal with scale, we're going to deal with position, we're going to deal with blur. You know what? I think this actually does need to be kind of like this. So okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm looking for areas that don't really fit, but I think I don't know. I don't know. Where's that earlier green orb that we dipped in here? Yeah, that can come in and dominate the frame a little bit. And then we've got swirling. Okay, so I think we are good with this. Let's see what we can do to take what we have here and blend these things together in an appealing way. So remember, we have a black solid on the bottom. What if we just set everything to add? Let's see what happens, you know? Let's get crazy with it. See if we enjoy how everything is kind of reacting. This area still feels very vacant. And what feels dominant? That's the big question. What feels dominant? I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to use one of the old-timey techniques that I usually dip into, which is to simply make a circle larger than the frame. Okay, I'm going to set it to rotate. I'll rotate it once around. I'm going to go ahead and give it a fill that is a linear gradient fill. And let's see, let's go from green to blue, let's say. Try to get close to the blue that we have. And the other thing, okie doke. And all this thing is doing is like spinning around, right? And I'm going to put that under everything, and we're going to see if that has improved. Yeah, this has kind of filled the situation up quite a bit. Okay, so this thing can now, I think, come down under some of the red that we want to bring in. I don't know. What are we thinking for balance? Let's bring more red back into this. And so then we'll take the greens and dip them on top. It's funny how my own kind of biases kind of bring me back to creating things that are all very kind of similar to each other. I've noticed that I do that a lot. Where I'm like, I'll just do some of the same stuff that I always do. And then we end up with, ooh, I don't like this. What's that all about? Whose fault is that? Let's see what's up with that. Why is that the case? Yeah, it got too blurry. Okay. All right. Okay, so we've got these orbs. The orbs are moving around. The orbs are fun. Like, we're having fun with them. I'm going to bring out an adjustment layer. I'm going to bring out a turbulent displace, because I'm always thinking we can get crazier. Now, what's fun about this is that turbulent displace, when you put it over top of things, becomes kind of like this undulating, well, until you get it undulating, it's not doing anything. But it kind of comes in and it brings psychedelic warpiness to everything, right? That, you know, we're getting little flares that are cool. You know, you can just go smaller with it, right? But then it kind of loses what makes it magical. It's kind of hypnotic, like a lava lamp, right? Okay, so now I'm going to do. What am I going to do here? What am I even going to do here? Some of this I like. Some of this I'm not super thrilled. And it might even be the color choice that I have selected here that's doing it to me. Yeah, let's dip it closer that way. The green really appears muddy, right? Which is not... Like, I like this teal. I don't like this muddiness over here. So that's why, unfortunately... Yeah, now it looks less muddy and more kind of practical. Perfect. Okay, so because we've got this thing, we can have it, as we're saying, we're going to evolve this over time. Keyframe for evolution. Evolution will go to 1. Okay, so now we've got some evolution happening. Little spurts of color going through. Okay, I'm kind of happy with this, right? Hopefully this is nice for people, all right? Now, we now have this kind of manual gradient that we've done by playing with little layer stuff, having fun with it, you know. Now we can kind of take this manual gradient, and let's try to use it places, right? Let's try to do that. So, manual gradient, which is good because we've got about half an hour to cook something up here. So, just like we showed kind of with the logo reveal thing, right? You can always just take your looping backgrounds and just slap them back there, right? So we got the manual gradient. We can put that behind and, you know, see if you enjoy how that's working out. Like I said, I would encourage people to always make your backgrounds larger than you need so that you don't have to, like, scale them up in a weird way later on, you know, which is fine. But as you can see, it becomes very, very easy to do something kind of utilitarian with this thing that we've made, right? Like, and even you'd be like, you know what, that's cool and everything, but hey, give me a second copy of that. Lighten each other up a little bit. What do you think? Have a little glow up, right? So then you start to combine this with a duplicate of itself. And you end up with even more interesting stuff. You lose that kind of color control, and you'll probably have to, you know, curves and tint and stuff this down. But as you can see from that kind of manual result, we get this incredibly varied unit that we can kind of play around with. Now, I really enjoy how this stuff kind of comes together. Right? Now, the one thing that's pretty cool about this is you're like, well, I can kind of see the mirroring, right? I can kind of feel the, I can feel when the things are too similar. And if that's the case, we can go layer time, enable time remapping. And then on this time remapping, we are going to, we're going to put an expression that is loop out. So we can cycle it, which will allow us to cycle this on into infinity. Don't worry about this little hitch in the road here. We're just going to set one keyframe before it, delete this other one, and we'll be fine. So that is good enough. Another thing that you might consider doing is the reason why we get this black frame is because we really just need to click, give ourselves an extra frame here. Then, oh, that little trubs. Oh no, you're still giving me trouble. Hold on, we're gonna go. Oh wait, did I alter the wrong comp? Hope not. Ooh, that'd be crazy. Go layer. Time. Enable to timer map. Yeah, there we go. Oh, right, so we got the time remap. Right now it's just remaining static as it hits the end, so then we just loop it out. Right. So then it keeps on going. And now you can offset this kind of in time and space and stuff and have fun with that. So hopefully that fits. How dare you keep doing that blink? How dares you? Hold on, I have to purge some things to make sure that I clean frame 91 out. We'll see if that solves it. There we go. Always messing with me. Now I'll have to fill up my cache again so we can preview this. But yeah, so that's hopefully something fun that you can do. You take your manual stuff, or you take whatever kind of looping situation you have, put one version of it over top of another one, have fun with this kind of, maybe I add them together. Well, maybe I subtract them. Ooh, maybe I rotate this one around. Maybe I move it in time and space. Ooh, I don't know. I could do anything with this. But just kind of have fun with it. Maybe you have it constantly rotating. I don't know. But the idea is, with this kind of thing, creating little remixable parts, right? Like creating little remixable things that will help you out kind of in future, right? And that's kind of the idea. So, that's what we wanted to do. And I think we did it. I think we nailed it today, really. TBH. I always graduate towards like blues and purples, so I don't really know what that's all about. Turned into like an Apple ad around here. I don't know. I don't know. We should have more green, right? That's right, Kent. We nailed it as a team. We did it as a team. So let's make these ones the background. Is set mat going to do what I want? Probably not. Okay, hold on. Thinking. Really pleased with myself now. Maybe I only need one of these. Awesome. So yeah, what I'm doing here is I'm just taking a copy of this. I'm having it reference the video or the layer above it, and having it just kind of hang out, which will put like what I can actually do here. Shrink this down, maybe. Yeah, that's getting more friendly for me. Nice. All right, so now we got this disco text going on here. I'm loving it. Well, not like the plug-in disco text, which is cool, but anyway. I'm going to do something with this. Let's just animate the opacity. Is that what I wanted to do? Do I have to come and go? La da da dee da 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 dee da 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 dee. Okay, I would now like to animate the tracking. Who doesn't like a good tracking shift? Oh, yeah. Oh, my dog has shown up outside the office to sneeze a few times. I think that's great. There we go. Okay, good, good, good. Okay, so we've got opacity fading this in here. So what I'm going to do, I guess I could... Yeah, because if I fade the opacity of that, is the same as fading the opacity of this. Let's leave that opacity alone. Let's deal with this one. Samesies. All right, there we go. So I think that is looking good. Oh, Friends in Motion Studio, thank you so much. Chiming in on the Behance chat. Always glad to provide quality ocular ASMR for people. That's what we're looking at. That's what we're looking for around here anyway. Okay, so we've got this going. Look, I make fun of myself for my font choices all the time, so you are welcome to as well. Someone the other day was saying that Trebuchet was a nice alternative. Ugh, I don't think I agree, but I don't know. Any font suggests from the group? Yeah. Let's see here. Umacorn asking in the Behance chat about how Sherbert's doing. Yeah, he's got good days and bad days. Our little doggy has a degenerative spine problem, so he has good days and bad days. So it's yeah. Anyway, a lot of old dog problems for such a young dog. You know, we think. I don't know. We got him off of the street, so we don't really have good understanding of his specific age. All right, let's mess around with this thing a little bit more and see if we can arrive at... Ooh, that's too blown out. Yeah. Arya, let's see, who's this question from in the YouTubes? Aryaman Gupta is asking Molot. I'm afraid I don't know what an MOLOT is. I don't know, but let me know, and I'll try to clarify more if possible. But yeah. And yeah, Hong Pro is saying it's kind of like a light leak. I guess so. Yeah. I think of it as kind of like disco lighting. This kind of thing is often done very practically just by shining lights around in a space, which I think is great. Oh wait, is Molot the is that the suggestion for font? Molo. Oh, Molo. Yes. Okay. Molot. You know what? Should we dip to the Adobe font zone? Hey, let's take it to the font zone, folks, and we will see. Whoa. Huh. Oh, okay. Well, let's see if we. I'm already loving some of what I have not been in Adobe fonts in a minute, so this looks different than usual. Huh. Okay. Things have changed in here, people. Things have changed. I have not been in here in a little bit, so let me see if Molot is in here. Malo. Yeah, Molot's in here. Ooh, little serif buddy, huh? Oh, I do like hair, though. Oh, man, I would totally... I am down with some of this slab serif. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, activate him. Why not? Futura, yeah. Potato was saying, can I recommend some good Adobe fonts? They're all winners. Love them all. No, it's really interesting. Quality fonts at your fingertips. Why is everything so differently now? My Adobe fonts? No, I want to browse them. I want to browse them. Typekit web fonts, font packs. Yeah, I have not been in here in a little bit, so it's interesting to see how differently everything's getting organized now. What Umacorn says, you don't get the privilege of using Adobe fonts in your subscription. Weird. I wonder why that is. People liking Code Bold? Oh, maybe that's not in... that's not an Adobe font. I'm really interested in what some of these things are. Black letter. We're going to have a little bit less of that in our lives, I think. Something rounded. I'm a sucker for things that are geometric. Okay, so if we just click on the geometric... Give me a mono. Oh, Huh, I stumped you. Okay. Give me some mono-spaced... Thick? Can we get some low contrast? Source code is in here. Firmano. Ballinger. Oh, I think it's input mono. Yeah, we're going input mono for me. Because this feels just feels correct. Yeah. Input mono. Maybe. RGB and caps looked good. The rest of this not so much, but go with that. All right. Wow. Loving it. Loving it. Molto? Did I just activate Molto? I guess I did. Okay. Input mono. Let me kind of see, does this work with the design? I'm kind of feeling this. I mean, I don't love how that B comes together. And yeah, the U-Wave. That's right. We do live streams here. At least for the rest of August, I'll be live streaming here on the weekends. A little experiment just to see how it goes. If people are able to tune into this stuff, and you know, if it fits into their lives. That B, I really dislike that. Takesies, backsies. Input mono. No, I throw it away. I reject you, input mono. Azo Sans, is that appropriately bad? Is it funny that I think about things in terms of badness? Can you keyframe font? Like have it change without creating multiple layers? So Nick Canton, I think this is the variable font trouble, right? Like I want this half to be Azo Sans, I want this half to be Helvetica, I want to go between them, right? Like those kinds of things. So tragically, we're not there yet. There are other apps, there's other programs. I think there's actually a plugin maybe that is bringing that kind of functionality to After Effects. But yeah, it's something people have asked for a while. Anyway, that's maybe an Adobe user voice thing. I think it's interesting because it's not something that I've found as like a client request, right? Like it's very rare that someone's like, well, I want the start of the thing to be in one font, and then we're going to transition it all to be the other font. I guess if they were doing like a brand identity where the brand font is going to change, then we would probably do that. I'm just trying to think of other kind of practical applications. From an art standpoint, it's great to be able to do, but anyway. Oh, and Alborz is saying, does anyone have any recommendations for Middle Eastern alphabet fonts? Yeah, anyone in the chat, jump on it and let people know. Like, are you looking for something decorative? Are you looking for something more... I have to return to the font panel. Azo Sans is not doing it for me. But we will discover. We will discover something that I do want to look at. And we'll see what it could be. Oh, what it could be. I know it's... I know, folks, it's so fun to see Evan observe fonts for a little while. And, ooh, this has a B that I like. Ooh, yeah. Okay. Okay. New Aten. New Aten. Interesting. Let's see. So this is funny. Wait a minute. It's called New Aten in here, but then when I come into here, it's called Aten New? Must you? Do you have to... I don't think that's funny. I'm not here to be pranked. All right, that kind of fits, I guess. Why? Why is everybody trying to prank me all the time? Very well. Okay, and then let's bring the tracking amount. Nope. Nope. Nope, nope, nope. Okie doke. So, yeah, let's kind of recap the kind of things we went over here, because I know a lot of people came in late. If folks are coming in late, don't worry. All this stuff has been archived for all time and all space. So, you know, it's going to be on the EC Abrams tutorial channel. It's going to be found on Behance.net stuff. So go to behance.net/EC Abrams if you want to watch it there. What did we get up to today? Well, we talked a lot about gradients. We talked about a lot about the limitations of gradients. We talked about, you know, the various troubles and woes that we get from trying to use like the 4-color gradient. Wow, it's so good. Some fun with the 4-color gradient. And then we went about trying to solve these problems, right? We went into sort of how we might do this using a fractal base or some kind of black and white generative base, and then simply layering on various levels of complexity on top of that. So tint, which gives us 2 colors, tritone that gives us 3, CC toner that gives us 5 or 2 or 3, or colorama that gives us infinite, right? So hopefully that kind of explains. Again, I'm always swatting my mug of tea around up here like a cat. So that's sort of one way to do it, right? And then we were like, hey, wait a minute. We can just do a lot of this stuff manually. So we made a little looping background strip like this that worked out pretty well. Then we made a manual gradient that, making use of blending modes and making use of all kinds of things out here that give us all of the fine control that we wanted. Oh yeah, I didn't like that muddiness. That's why I didn't do that. Give us fine control of our end products with this stuff. And Aryaman Gupta wants to know how I keyframed some gradients again. So I'm going to assume you're asking about this shape layer thing here. You can drop keyframes on shape layer gradient fill colors. So if you drop a keyframe down on here, you can edit the gradient, and then you can just modify what's going on in that. And as you can see, we're now going to go from one form to the other form, right? So that's what you're able to do, keyframing the colors, so you can keyframe all the knots and stuff. So hopefully that works for folks. But yeah, what else did we do? Right, we went into this manual gradient. We made this kind of undulation in here using a combination of just moving shapes, blurring them, then using an adjustment layer with some turbulent stuff to shift it all around. And then finally, we went into how we would actually apply that. So at a base level, right, you just plomp it down and enjoy. But then we put a second one over top of that, set it to multiply, moved it around, and then you get like a second layer of interaction happening with this stuff. Like, so much fun to just be adding on top of adding and getting interesting stuff. And then we're like, you know what? Well, we can do you one better here, and we'll just plomp this bad boy down. Don't need to look at that. And have its visible area defined by the alpha of another layer, and that's pretty cool. So I'm gonna make that extra bold so we can actually appreciate it. There we go. And yeah, that was kind of what we were doing, and hopefully this helped people out dealing with kind of red, green, blue, really great backgrounds. Hopefully that pun was good for people, and hopefully this has satisfied our overlords at Behance, and that the Behance challenge has been satisfied. Only one way to find out, so check out people's work on Behance streaming. If you enjoy watching creative streams like this, then please do check out Behance.net, because there are a lot of other really talented illustrators and motion design people. There's people using Substance Painter over there. There's streams going on all the time at Behance.net. So check that out if you can. I've got a bunch of stuff on there. It's a chill hang. I love hanging out with the Behance people. But this will bring us into the end of the day, maybe the start of the day, middle of the day. I don't know. I'm gonna have to run on and do some other stuff. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me and for being around for the process. It's always fun when there's more people hanging out. So I really thank you for coming and doing this. I got to run on and do some other things in my day, but we'll be back with more stuff next weekend. And hopefully we learned things. Hope we learned about ourselves and each other. And you can find me around the internet at EC Abrams on Twitter, on Instagram. If you make something cool with what you learn here, I'd love to see it. So tag me, send it at me. I'd love to see those things. If you want more of this stuff in your life, subscribe, follow, do whatever the platform asks you to do. And hopefully that's good. And yeah, stay creative out there. Stay safe. Be kind to each other. And I will see you next time. Bye for now. And I guess that's it. Now I got to find which button. There it is.